My mother just said, okay, now I'm really going, and I'll be back at about 5 p.m. I said bye. I heard her walking away. I pressed resume, I remember, on the laptop to continue playing the music I was listening to. And then I heard an explosion, and I knew it was a car bomb straight away.
Malta, the 16th of October 2017. Journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia is killed in a car bomb attack. She was 53 years old. Matthew is her eldest son.
The dogs were barking uncontrollably, and I just sprinted off. I kept running, and then I saw the plume of smoke. It was, I don't know, 200, 300 meters high. It was like a tower of thick black smoke. There was a huge ball of fire. The car was in flames. I thought, please God, be another car. I couldn't see the number plate. I couldn't see the color of the car. I couldn't tell what kind of a car it was. I saw the logo of Peugeot, and at that moment I thought, shit. It was just awful. The sound of the horn blaring, it just wouldn't stop. I just saw there were body parts all over the ground. I think that's when I thought, okay, look, forget it. That's obviously a foot. That's obviously a leg, you know. There are no two ways about it. It's not a strangely shaped piece of wood. It's a human foot. There's nothing you can do.
In Malta, the emotion is immense. Thousands of people gather outside the church during her funeral. This is the first time that a journalist has been killed in a car bomb attack in the European Union. In Strasbourg, the president of the European Parliament welcomes Daphne Caruana Galizia's husband and sons, Matthew, Paul, and Andrew. Daphne, as everyone called her in Malta, became an icon. In her blog running commentary, she had reported on Maltese political life. This blog had overtaken all the traditional newspapers in the country. It was read by more than 300,000 of the 400,000 people living on the island.
She represented the voice of truth in Malta. It was our first source of information. She was exposing things that the government was trying its best to cover up.
She was relentless, she was fearless. There was nothing they could do to stop Daphne.
Daphne was known for her investigations into corruption at the highest state level. Her main target was the ruling Labour Party and its Prime Minister, Joseph Muscat. A few months before her death, she had uncovered the existence of several offshore companies owned by some members of the government.
If she wanted to call somebody a crook, a thief, a robber, a liar, a corrupt politician, she would do so.
She was feared. No one wanted to get on the wrong side of Daphne.
When I was circling the car, I just thought, those bastards. She was obviously killed because of something that she had written about. They just killed her. That was the only way.
Who ordered the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia? Why did they want to silence her? What disturbing investigations was she working on? To answer these questions, the organization Forbidden Stories has assembled 45 investigative journalists from 15 countries. Around the table are journalists from the New York Times, Reuters, The Guardian, and Le Monde. The mission of Forbidden Stories is to continue the investigations of journalists who have been jailed or killed. Together, we have resumed Daphne's work right from where she had left it.
So you understand the way she operated. She was very aggressive. And that means that there are a lot of people who hated her. And the chief of police then said, at some point, Daphne is going to be assassinated. And I really hope I'm not in charge when that happens, because I would not know where to start.
We've been given access to her sources, the content on her phone, and the confidential documents that she was working on at the time of her assassination.
The internal files from the database is May 2017. And like I say, all the emails plus attachments, etc., is about 100,000 files.
Daphne was carrying out dozens of investigations into corruption, tax evasion, and dirty money of certain high-level government officials. For 5 months, we have been investigating these leads.
This is a body of material that she left behind. This is very much in the spirit of the whole project of carrying on that investigation. The whole vision of the house, where it blew up and where the car ended up.
To begin this collaboration, we have followed the footprints of the men suspected of Daphne's assassination. On the 4th of December 2017, the Maltese armed forces carried out a raid in the town of Marsa's port area. 3 people were arrested. Vincent Muscat, George De Giorgio, and his brother Alfred De Giorgio. Journalist Caroline Muscat was a friend of Daphne's. She knew of the suspect's reputation, for they were previously suspected of being involved in armed robbery.
These people were unemployed. They lived a life where they have boats, a number of luxury cars. They were living openly without any kind of, fear of threat or they were comfortable. Everybody knew they were protected. Everybody knew they were dangerous.
We've had access to a report of the police investigation which retraced the steps of how the assassination must have been prepared. The Maltese inspectors, with the help of the FBI, were able to determine the movements of the 3 suspects, thanks to data from their mobile phones. It all begins on the 5th of October 2017, 11 days before the assassination. One of the suspects is located in the town of Bitnia, where Daphne lived. This man is Alfred De Giorgio. His phone was traced to that location another 9 times in the days leading up to the assassination. Charles Summit lives on one of the hills facing Daphne's home. He testified as a witness in court. In the weeks preceding the murder, he saw the same car parked just below his home on several occasions.
It is strange because it was a hire car, and if it is somebody, a tourist, they won't be here, several times over 2 or 3 weeks. They'll come once or twice maybe, and that's it. It was very strange. They had been studying her, it's obvious. They had done their homework. They knew her movements, what car she had, and which way she went.
Alfred De Giorgio is located in Bitnia in the evening. According to investigators, that's when the bomb was placed under the driver's seat in Daphne's car. At 1:41 a.m., the mobile phone attached to the explosives is activated. This will set off the bomb a few hours later.
On the 16th, it was over there, just around the corner here. We noticed it at 9 o'clock in the morning. I saw it, I went out to check the mail at about 12 o'clock, it was there. My wife went out at 2:30, it was there. And the explosion happened at 3 o'clock, and then we never saw it again. So that's how it got connected.
A few dozen meters away, the police discovered a cigarette end. It contained Alfred De Giorgio's DNA.
The police found the cigarette. It was somewhere here. Somewhere. Obviously, they were watching from here. You have a perfect view of the house and the lane and the road.
It's 7:55 a.m. on the day of the assassination. A boat owned by the other De Giorgio brother, George, is spotted by CCTV cameras leaving Valletta's port. He will remain at sea until 2:52 p.m. when he's filmed coming back into the port. That's when investigators think that he activated the bomb by SMS. At exactly 2 o'clock, 58 minutes and 55 seconds. That day, Franz Sant was driving towards Daphne. He was the first witness of the attack.
Jena l-esplużjoni, imma kienet żgħira, qisu bħal spark kbir, u tar xi debris minn ġafija u nara lilha sadattant ma raftix ippanikjat hi kienet għadha konxja.
A few seconds after the first explosion, a second, much more violent explosion destroyed Daphne's car.
Xanet xi ħaġa li ma ttaqat, għax ħassajt li ma kellix ngħidha. Bell-ewwel waħda u l-aħħar waħda. Twerżiqa kbira ma kienx bħallhom ta' imma mal-twerżiqa saret balla nar.
According to the police, a few minutes after activating the bomb, George De Giorgio returned to the port. The inspectors intercepted a text that he must have sent to his girlfriend. "Buy me some wine, my love." According to the police inquiry, the suspects were warned about their arrest.
I think that the people who've been arrested were the people who were contracted to carry out the assassination. My mother had never written about them. She didn't report on organized crime of the kind that they were involved in. So they had no bone to pick with her. She had a lot of enemies, but there were the big ones and the small ones. The small ones were the kind of people who would make an angry phone call. The big ones were the people who could pay for a car bomb to be planted.
Over the last 20 years, Daphne had received countless threats. Like Matthew, her two other sons, Andrew and Paul, have grown up in an atmosphere of constant tension.
One of our dogs had its throat slit and its corpse was laid at our front door. 2 of our dogs were poisoned, 2 arson attacks. One, more than simply being an arson attack, was really an attempt at murdering our mother. A car, people crashing into her, death threats over the phone, harassment by government officials and party officials as she went out, her daily business. It was relentless. Any opportunity to threaten, harass, demean our mother was taken.
Daphne had been heard by the Council of Europe as part of an inquiry into threats made to journalists. We broadcast the audio from her testimony for the first time. This is just 10 days before her assassination.
The most aggressive tools which the Labour Party and the government tries to use against me, which is the one of social ostracism and alienation. Greatest difficulties I encounter come from the fact that they have made me into what in effect is a national scapegoat. You know, it's like constant propaganda against me. I got used to it, like, you know, like a scar forms around the wound. But my biggest concern is that because people see what happened to me, they don't want to do it. It scared others off. People are afraid of consequences.
The Labour Party had given Daphne various nicknames: the witch, the hate blogger, the queen of bile. These nicknames were subsequently picked up by all of the government's supporters. One of her main critics was a member of Parliament, Glenn Bedingfield, a key member of the ruling Labour Party.
You're a close collaborator of Joseph Muscat, the current Prime Minister.
Yes, and a good friend as well. We have known each other since 1992. Have always been together so far.
Glenn Bedingfield is a politician but also a blogger. He wrote almost one scathing article a day against Daphne, referring to her as crazy, making fun of her weight, and inciting his 80,000 readers to take photos of her in public places. He started this blog while he was an advisor to the Prime Minister Joseph Muscat.
At the same time, you were employed by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Is it not a conflict of interest?
Don't I have my own personal ideas? Are we for freedom of expression or are we not? That is the question I keep on asking.
But at that time you were paid by the government, by the state.
So don't I have the right to work?
Daphne too didn't hesitate to mock politicians, attacking them harshly sometimes on their physical appearance or their mannerisms. One of her favorite targets was Glenn Bedingfield.
I handled that criticism. I handled all the unfairness that was thrown at me, my family, my friends. I won't say, oh, this is unfair, this is unfair. I handled it, I replied back. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Are we living in a free country? Are we all for freedom of expression, or are we not?
Is that not harassment?
So it is harassment on the Labour Party. So it is harassment on the people of the Labour, but it's not harassment on us. You're taking side.
In your point of view, who ordered her murder?
Do you know if it was ordered? But politicians fight words with words. They don't fight words with bombs.
At the time of her death, Daphne had 47 libel suits against her. A large majority of them were initiated by members of the Labour Party and the government. Daphne was investigating a very sensitive topic, an opaque and extremely lucrative system for the Maltese state, the sale of passport. Malta is one of the only European countries to sell its passport for money. For €1 million, rich foreigners are able to buy the Maltese citizenship. It's a legal and particularly lucrative business. So to attract these great fortunes, the government is acting as a travel agency.
Malta is a good place to be. It's a safe, democratic, cosmopolitan country. Are you tempted? Become part of the bigger European family.
The main selling point, the European citizenship. If you have enough money in the bank, you can unlock the doors to the 28 countries of the European Union, freely settle and do business there, and clearly, the best advantage for businessmen, you can travel to 168 countries visa-free. To promote the sale of passports, there are trade shows across the world. This time, the gathering is taking place in Dubai, an immigration summit where the main subject are not refugees or humanitarian crises, but mobility and investments. Welcome behind the scenes of globalization. Here, lawyers, wealth managers and political leaders come together, the whole sales force for the passport industry.
Si vous voulez prendre 10 passeports aujourd'hui, vous pouvez, pour vulgariser un peu la chose, c'est comme une carte de crédit. S'il y en a une qui ne marche pas, il y en a un autre qui marche.
Passports are the mega richest new toy for traveling in a world without borders. Like in Monopoly, there are cheap countries like the Caribbean islands from €250,000. And then upmarket countries like Malta. To promote its passports, the government has appointed a senior official, Daphne Caruana. He travels the world to convince millionaires to buy the Maltese citizenship.
What kind of people do you want to attract?
People who are well networked, who have talent, who have something to contribute to the country.
So it does. Jobs, employment.
Yes, it does. It does create. It does create. To be honest, more than I expected.
Strict control.
We have quite strict controls, yes, and we are continuing to build on those strict controls. Obviously, anyone which is being investigated or there is criminal connotations to him, that's people that we don't want to associate ourselves with.
So Daphne Caruana and his team only select the crème de la crème, multi-millionaires committed to galvanizing the Maltese economy. But is there a hidden agenda behind buying a Maltese passport? This is what the OECD suspects, the worldwide organization charged with stimulating economic cooperation between countries. For over a year, the taxation director, Pascal Saint-Amand, has been analyzing the dangers of the passport industry.
On voit bien les risques qui sont afférents de pouvoir contourner des règles sur l'embargo, par exemple, ou de dissimuler non pas son identité, mais sa nationalité, et à des fins fiscales ou à des fins de blanchiment d'argent.
In her investigations, Daphne denounced the lack of transparency in the passport industry. And in particular, the lack of available information about the buyers. With our colleagues from Le Monde and Radio France, we have taken up her work and reviewed the list of buyers. In total, there are over 2,000 names to investigate. Amongst the new European citizens are Vadim Vasilyev, the vice president of Monaco Football Club; William Irby, a Wall Street giant who obtained a passport in spite of issues with the US authorities; and Liu Songqian, a Chinese billionaire who made his fortunes in the aluminium industry and had been suspected of circumventing US customs barriers. Only Vadim Vasilyev responded to our questions. The Russian director of AS Monaco said he was proud of being a Maltese citizen and of sharing the country's values. Before they can get their passport, buyers must reside in Malta for at least a year. This is a requirement stated by the government. In order to fulfill the demand, new buildings are appearing across Malta like Lego. But are people actually living in these properties? We obtained the information in Daphne's telephone. She had found the addresses of some millionaires. Like this one, not exactly luxurious. Or this one. Guess who used to live here? Mr. Liu, the king of aluminium. We found another house, supposedly the home of various passport buyers.
C'est ouvert. Ça, c'est bien Monsieur Doiken.
Dmitry Doiken, a Russian businessman whose fortune is estimated at $240 million.
Et donc, normalement, ce multimillionnaire russe habite là, juste dans le sous-sol ici, il y a le 9B. Alors là, il y a un mur derrière la fenêtre. On va tenter le coup avec Mohamed Fadimeyo, qui est censé habiter à l'appartement A. Donc ça, c'est le... Eh ben, c'est au même endroit. 9A, 9B, eh oui.
One address for two millionaires, flatmates in Malta. Maybe we came on the wrong day, so we asked the neighbors.
Good evening. Sorry to disturb you. You know that person?
They live here in this area.
Yeah, then he's just here.
There's no one living there.
No one?
No one. It's an empty house.
He's a Russian citizen, and he's a multi-millionaire.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And he's supposed to be living here?
Yeah.
Uh-huh. It's just singing.
Does the Maltese government know that some passport buyers do not live on the island? We met with a passport seller. He arranges the arrival of these new citizens. We filmed him with a hidden camera.
They come to Malta, biometrics and everything, and then they leave, and then we'll invite them again just to pick up the passports and, you know.
I've seen that you have a 12-month residency.
Uh-huh. No? We don't have to live here. What we do is you pretend to be living here. But you won't.
Okay.
So, for example, you have a gym membership, and I give you a mobile phone so that I will show the government that you're living here.
And the government doesn't mind. Yeah, no one will, like, not come at your flat or...
No. It's just to remain empty.
Empty apartments and phantom passport buyers. In 4 years, the passport industry has already brought in 700 million euros to the Maltese state. Daphne was investigating these flows of overseas money. She suspected a system of corruption at the height of the state. She had proven that Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Keith Chambry, owned offshore companies hidden in Panama and the British Virgin Islands. These revelations triggered the launch of numerous investigations by the Maltese anti-money laundering agency, the FIO. At the heart of this organization to tackle corruption is a man, Jonathan Farras. He supervised one of the teams that was investigating the Chief of Staff's offshore companies. According to him, he was dismissed because he knew too much.
I'm no fool when it comes to mathematics and financial investigations. I spent 6 years at the police economic crimes, so I know how to go about them.
In your point of view, what is the real reason of you being fired?
Yes, I think I got fired because I was a threat for them.
Who are them?
I was a threat for the FIAO. I've seen things of which I cannot disclose.
What was your reaction when you learned the death of Daphne Caruana Galizia?
I spent the first 3-4 days, not knowing what's hitting me. But then I started to get concerned even myself, I started to look under my car, you get paranoid.
Why were you feeling targeted?
Well, because I know valuable information that can potentially send people to prison.
What kind of people?
Politically exposed people.
At the government?
Of the government, of course.
Jonathan Ferris and his colleagues had prepared several explosive reports on members of the government. We have obtained the original of one of these reports. It targets the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Keith Shambry. The anti-money laundering agency suspects he received kickbacks on the sale of passports. This is what this little sleight of hand entails. A state-approved agent, Brian Tonner, sold passports to 3 Russian citizens. They each paid commissions to his company as required by law. But strangely, they also transferred more than 168,000 euros to the account of an offshore company registered in the British Virgin Islands. Who owned it? Brian Tonner, the passport vendor. This offshore company transferred 100,000 euros to an account in Malta, which belongs to guess who? Keith Shambry, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff. These grave suspicions of kickbacks did not trigger judicial investigations at the time. Until a politician received the report and decided to take action. Simon Busuttil was the leader of the opposition.
I decided to give it to the magistrate because I was extremely angry that nothing was done about it. So the anti-money laundering agents knew that nothing was done. And likewise, the Commissioner of Police knew about it and was doing nothing about the matter. This is why I felt compelled to go to the magistrate myself.
The Prime Minister's Chief of Staff maintains that these wire transfers were in fact a refund for a personal loan.
I expected the Prime Minister to fire his Chief of Staff immediately and to assume political responsibility himself because he chose him. So you see, this is not just about the Chief of Staff of the Prime Minister. It's more than that. It's about the Prime Minister's lack of will to fight corruption when you have someone who is revealed, still kept in the job, and nothing is done to investigate him, then there are real problems with the rule of law.
Joseph Muscat, the Prime Minister, refused our interview request. So we waited for him outside Parliament.
Mr. Muscat, what do you answer to the multiple allegations of corruption on your government and staff?
I have answered numerous times to yourself and your colleagues.
Are you going to take action?
I have taken action.
Which action did you take, Mr. Muscat? This is question from 18 international media outlets.
A few days later, the government announced new measures against money laundering and the recruitment of investigators at the Anti-Money Laundering Agency. In the wake of the avalanche of revelations concerning the Maltese government and the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia, European officials are mobilizing.
We now see Mr. Massacas, who has nothing to do with the corrupt practices of the Maltese government.
To demand sanctions against the Maltese state, they have called upon the Vice President of the European Commission, Frans Timmermans.
With regard to the issue of money laundering in Malta, the facts as they resulted from our analysis, and let me stress this, raise no general concerns on Malta's overall compliance.
Frans Timmermans declined our interview request. So we went to a press conference in Brussels on the rule of law in Europe. We almost did not recognize Frans Timmermans with his beard.
Thank you so much. Jules Giraudat from France 2. Mr. Timmermans, there are serious concerns have been raised about the rule of law in Malta since the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia. You declined our interview request on this topic. The Prime Minister Chief of Staff is suspected to have received kickbacks on the sale of passports. You are in charge of the respect of the rule of law in the EU. Are you going to take action? That's the report.
The Commission follows up on all the issues pertaining to the situation in Malta. You ask immediately, is there ground for sanctions? At this stage, there are no grounds for sanctions, but we keep looking into the issue. And if at some stage we come to the conclusion that there would be ground for sanctions, we would not hesitate to propose those sanctions. If we find grounds to act, we will act. The Commission will not let this go. I made this commitment very strongly on behalf of the Commission.
Thank you. That concludes the press conference.
To this day, the European Commission hasn't placed sanctions on the Maltese state. At the end of our investigation, we gathered troubling testimonies which implicate a member of the government. A politician that Daphne had been investigating, the Minister of Economy, Chris Cardona. On the 30th of January 2017, she published an article that incurred the wrath of the minister. At 11:45 p.m., she announced that Chris Cardona, at that very moment, was in a brothel called Acapulco in Germany.
Who didn't read her blogs on Acapulco in Germany? I mean, just imagine a minister caught in a brothel in Germany whilst on official duties. And of course, it attracted a great deal of anger from the minister concerned, who denied and continues to deny until today that he was actually there.
The Minister for the Economy didn't just accuse Daphne of defamation.
L-allegazzjoniet huma folot għaliex aħna ma konniex hemmhekk. Jiġifieri hija ċara daqs kristall.
Strangely, he asked judges to seize some of her assets for the duration of the trial.
She died with her bank account still frozen. My mother was unable to pay for anything. She was reduced to the status of a child. It was just nothing. Your freedom is... it's curtailed completely.
The minister denies ever visiting the brothel. Our German colleagues Bastian Obermeier and Hannes Munzinger were able to find Daphne's source.
Yesterday we met the source that saw Chris Cardona in the brothel.
Here was Mr. Cardona standing. Here was I. Here's a fountain. He said, "Here's the bar. Here was the buffet. Here you took your key." So it's he had very many details. I think it's a part of the whole story. Maybe he lied as a minister. That's perjury. So you can't let him out. No.
We have received new embarrassing testimonies about Chris Cardona, this time related to the investigation of Daphne's death. Several sources have pointed us in the same direction. To follow them up, we need to cross the island to a small village in the south of the country, Sigivi. With its empty streets at nightfall and a bar, Ferdinand's. We are accompanied by Radio France journalist Sylvain Tronchet, equipped with a hidden camera. After a few minutes, we start speaking to a customer. He tells us he comes to the bar every evening. We ask him about the Cardona affair.
A politician that went in gentleman club, no?
Cardona. Ah, yes, it's here.
That's it.
He drinks with us here.
Yeah, he comes here?
Yes.
Because he's from here?
Every Saturday and Sunday he comes. No. The journalist out, she's dying in Malta, Caruana Galizia.
Yeah.
There is 3 people in prison.
Ah, yes? Yeah. And this man come here as well?
Yes, yes.
In the same bar?
In the same bar.
They know the politician, Chris Cardona?
Yes.
And you saw them together?
Yes, yes.
Many times?
Together, drink, take
Yes.
a drink.
They were together before or after the murder?
Before, yes. One of them come here on Sunday night, and on Monday they catch him.
Wow.
Marsa. Yes.
We have obtained another testimony through a member of the opposition. This source confirms that he saw one of the suspects, Alfred De Giorgio, with Chris Cardona in the same bar in November 2017, barely a month after the assassination. According to our information, the justice system was alerted of the minister's visits. But to this day, Chris Cardona hasn't been interviewed by the police. We contacted the minister. He assures us that he does not recall having any discussions with any of these individuals and have definitely never had any meetings with them. On the occasion of a public meeting, we tried to question Prime Minister Joseph Muscat again.
Mr. Muscat, Jules Giraudat, France 2. According to our information, your Minister of the Economy has been seen with the suspect of the assassination of Daphne Caruana Galizia. Are you aware of that information?
In Bitnia, Daphne's husband Peter lives alone in their family house.
She changed over the years. She wasn't the person I met when she was 21 or 20. And I don't think she was very happy towards the end. She was, the only time I saw her happy in recent years was when Andrew got married at the wedding. I think it affected her, yes. She had a thick skin, you know, but still very vulnerable.
Matthew, Paul, and Andrew now live far away from Malta, with their mother's fight as inheritance.
5 months later, we've just never had any time as a family to remember her. It's just been a war, one battle after another, and I think it will be like that for a few years. If they thought it was work on my family, then it was a misjudgment. It definitely wrecks our lives and makes it impossible to ever live a normal life again. So it's punitive in that sense, but it just drives you even more.
We have not closed Daphne's notebooks. They contain many more revelations.